Hello and welcome to Footy Chat, Round 10 edition. Or Round 10's just occurred.
Yep.
I'm here with Lorenzo as always. Geelong, how are they going?
They're going a bit better than St Kilda, I think is the correct answer to that question. Woodsy,
You have to bring my club up straight away and you have to mention that we're not doing well.
You only just pulled on the colours just before we
You don't have to give in the behind-the-scenes secrets here.
Sorry.
We will go into just a quick recap, but as we do always, we showcase the round that was with a photo. And
yes.
this week...
Well, I've got really more the round to come this week.
The round to come this week?
Yes. I'm going to Thursday night. Geelong play the Western Bulldogs, and it'll be the 300th match for Mitch Duncan. Michael Wilson took a few photos of him at GMHBA Stadium. Stalwart of the game, long-time member of Geelong, and that's the successful year that we've had. Oft forgotten at times because he's down in the back six and rarely moves forward or is in that midfield. But he's been a very important piece for Geelong for a great period of time. A big congratulations to Mitch Duncan on all that he's done in his career so far. A great achievement.
Congratulations to Mitch Duncan as we look at the round that was, though. So in his 299th game, we'll discuss that very shortly. But we go back to Thursday night, and it was up in Darwin. Gold Coast defeated Hawthorn 104-96. Friday night, Sydney defeated Carlton 78-62. Saturday, Collingwood defeated Kuwana, or the Crows, 78-68. Yardapulti lost to a travelling Geelong in what was Mitch Duncan's 299th game. Yardapulti, or the Power, scored 39 to the Cats 115.
Jeremy Cameron kicking a lazy 7, I think it was, in the end.
Just a lazy 7. Walyalup defeated GWS in Sydney 95-61. The Dockers Walyalup. On Saturday night, this is the first discussion point for me, actually. The Western Bulldogs 127-36 defeating Essendon. Western Bulldogs by 91. What a win. And I think this has put a stamp on Western Bulldogs being premiership contenders.
I think they are now. I think it has to be said. What was it? Bangor with 49 disposals, if you don't mind. Yeah. One of the best performances of the weekend.
I think Doggies supporters were actually booing one of their own players because late in the game, Bailey Dale was free.
5-0, yeah.
And I can't remember who it was, but I feel sorry for him because he would have got booed by his own team supporters. On Sunday, North Melbourne picked up a win 78-74 against Richmond at the G. Their first win at the G for some time. And then the two big shocks of the round. And these were my big calls. Nam defeated Brisbane 99-88. And I'm going to put a statement out now saying I think Melbourne might be back. They've won quite a few matches. And I'll have to go, I think they're
4-6. Sitting 14th.
But I think after round 6, they might have been... So round 6, round 5 they were... round 5 they were 0-5.
Then
0-5, then they defeated the Dockers.
Yep.
Beat the Tigers. They defeated the Tigers.
Eagles.
And now...
Lost last week to Hawthorn and then victory this week.
I think they're back. And when I say they're back, they might not be premiership favourites or contenders, but they're back. They play Sydney this week at the G.
Yeah, that.
And then they play St Kilda.
The week after, yeah.
And
back Sunday,
then Collingwood is Queen's birthday. So I think by the time Queen's birthday, they could be 6-6.
They could very well be, yeah. Which is remarkable.
Or they could be 7-7 after they play Yardapulti, and I think that might take them to the bye. Yeah, they take them to the bye. So I'm putting a call out now. They can defeat Sydney. They can defeat St Kilda. They might not defeat Collingwood, but they could defeat Port Adelaide. So you can almost see them 7-7 by the bye,
which would be a great result for them based on where they were. Now, especially,
it brings me to the last game of the round.
You want to talk about this or not?
I do.
Oh, no, okay.
A lot of people think that they're putting all these comments out there about St Kilda. Now, I will say Woolwich Maruyara or West Coast Eagles. And it's Euroke or St Kilda.
Yep.
What do you think I'm about to say? Because
I'm not sure because I really didn't catch much of this. I didn't watch a ton of football this weekend. I was at a few other places. So I really only sort of caught glimpses of this match and the final score.
I will give heat on St Kilda need to up their game. They need to they don't travel well. However, this was the worst possible week to play the Eagles.
It was. Sorry, I cottoned on to what you were saying, I think, just before you did, yeah.
It was the worst possible timing, and I'm not going to kind of walk on eggshells around this, the Adam Selwood stuff. It is one of the things that, men's mental health is very close to a lot of people. But I think the impact it would have had, and it galvanizes people, it would have got people talking up and about. Yes, okay, it was just the day prior, and I'm not trying to equate, something happens and then it puts in, I'm just there going, well, surely you go, there must be a factor of, through tragedy, triumph occurs.
Yep.
Try not to, glorify whatever, but, the tragedy of Adam Selwood's passing, it was something that as soon as it happened, I had to remind myself the expectation for my club. It was going to be a hard one because you would have had a West Coast team wanting to, number one, get their first win on the board, but it's almost do it for the Selwood family.
Yep.
And so being very, very cautious going into that game, I'm like, we don't travel out west well. We don't perform away well. It's going to be tough. And looking back now, that's why I did the big call last week. And on Saturday, my big call is not happening because Saints aren't winning. I basically put on Saturday, we're not going to win this. It's going to be. We were the villains.
Yes,
we were the villains.
Through no fault of your own, to be fair.
It's kind of this attitude to kind of have that saying, but it's like we're going into their territory after 30 hours or so after.
Yeah, they had a full day to contemplate what this meant for them.
So there's that. Now I want to go back to another game because I think talking about the Selwoods, I wanted to keep it until that game. But talking about the Collingwood-Adelaide game, with Scott Selwood as an assistant coach for Collingwood, I think if you watch the post-match stuff on that, if you haven't, I suggest you do, because hearing Craig McRae talk, but he was actually interviewed on the ground by Mooney,
Yep.
Seeing the pain in his eyes, and I think Cameron Mooney knew. Craig McRae just, it's too much. He walked off, and Mooney went, that's
fine.
Yeah, that's fine. And I think Collingwood was still processing it, and I think the football world is still processing it, and it puts calls to men's mental health again.
I went back and listened to the last time I think Aiden Box was in this studio. We sort of had this discussion again. I was listening back to it, and we could basically replay that entire episode.
It's strange. It's strange to see how much it takes all the time. It takes something like this. We had Robert Walls obviously passed during the week, and then this, and we had Spud's game the round prior.
Yep.
And so I just hope I don't want another death to be the catalyst.
No, we've had
I
enough
think
of those.
one death is too many, but having one more death in the AFL, whether it's I can't even fathom on the who it's. I just think one's too many. But the story of Adam Selwood, obviously, for those that don't know, Troy Selwood passed a few months ago, 4 months or so ago.
Yep.
Same circumstances.
3 months-ish. Yep.
But I think it's important as fans of the game, we're not past players, we're fans. But it's still important to have conversations and ensure that this isn't a thing swept under the rug. It is something that, fans call for more and more, that men's mental health. And I think it was Eddie Maguire and Jimmy Bartell. I love listening to their podcasts.
I occasionally catch glimpses of their podcast. So
I think it's definitely worth
if anyone
listening to.
says something newsworthy, I usually find it
I
one way or
think
another.
it's definitely worth listening to every week because they're topical. Shout out to Eddie and Jimmy. I know you're not going to be watching, but if you are,
if you find your way
it's an amazing show to listen to. But they were talking about how now we've got AFLW. You can kind of split the two of like men's mental health and women's mental health, women's issues, men's issues, and kind of have it there. Like obviously you've got the overlapping stuff, but I think the AFLW, like you can have an AFLW women's mental health round or domestic violence round is the point they were making.
Yep.
And I think it's important to ensure that we do this. We keep the conversations going. We do keep checking in on our mates, even if it's just a, how you going? Hope you're doing well. Let's catch up soon.
Yep.
But then Brendan Favola, another one, and I'll keep this short, but he was speaking about it as well, and it's like, it's hard. Like, men don't have the strength to kind of open up as much, and I agree.
Yeah.
And my view as a fan is the footballer's purpose after their footballing life is done, it gets forgotten about. And so I think it's tough, and I don't even know where I was going with this, but I think like on reflection of the round, that's what I've got more out of it, especially with the St Kilda game. Like I just went, it's kind of like as much as I wanted the win, I thought West Coast would actually perform because they've got something to really play for.
Yep.
It was disappointing to see St Kilda not do this in Spud's game. But, yeah, it's a comment that it's tough to see, but there's more to life than football, and I think people need to start realising that as well with some of the comments that they make about players.
Yeah. Because it can have an
effect. Like, you see comments and you think it's social media. Like, social media is such a dangerous place for this. We as fans should not be commenting on players personally. Performance and personal stuff are two different things, and I've seen so much comments regarding personal matters of players and vile, disgusting stuff. So, yeah, it hits home when something like this occurs, and it just was tough seeing your own club being the team that had to play the team that had that loss. So, yeah. Tough to have, but while I quickly just get this cord on the ground. Sorry, my laptop's about to die.
Oh, that's all right.
But we're going to go with the season 2025 horse race. Just see where horses are.
We'll flick through them. So this is how
flick
things
through
got
these.
underway. We're after this will be.
I do feel like the mid-range teams have really been moving around. They shuffle week in, week out.
They do. So this was last week, wasn't it?
This was last week. Yes. Take note of a few. There might be a few big moves. You might.
There might.
If you can go back and forth at least once or twice, you'll see.
Hang on. That's 800.
So 800, then 900.
Oop, hang on. Sorry, that was 700, 800,
900, and then here we go.
This week, where are we at? Melbourne's moved. GWS has moved back, not
so
surprisingly.
There's actually 7 teams at the front there. Melbourne have been the big movers. I think they've done extremely well. And their timing, the next few games, they could actually stay around that area. I reckon they'll move to about where Freo are now. Get the inside run.
Yep. The Bulldogs really stand out there as well as another team.
Oh, the Bulldogs
asserted themselves.
They're ready to strike. I think they are ready to strike. They're positioning themselves well. 2 off the fence with cover.
Yep.
And as teams drop off, as they will probably round 15 or so, it'll be a bigger margin for those teams up front. But it's really hard to pick them.
It is.
Like,
it's sort of a week-by-week basis. You going?
I think that I'm not sure. I just have to go through this right now. But the Doggies are a team that are well poised. they're often forgotten about.
Yes.
I
do
think
forget about them.
laying the smackdown on Essendon really put a big rubber stamp on them.
It's a performance of scoreline that sort of jumped out in comparison to everyone else.
But I think if you're behind Sydney and Melbourne right now, just book September.
Yeah.
Yeah. Port Adelaide, I don't know what they're doing.
Oh, Port Adelaide, who knows?
Carlton, similar. I think if you're behind Sydney and Melbourne right now, just book September. You're not making finals.
Yeah, it feels very unlikely from anyone back there.
So that's the horse race for this week. We'll be getting more into it as we go into bad kicking. Is bad football.
Well, the Giants was
and
a
the
standout
Giants
right there. 8-13.
8-13.
If they were 13-8, they could have been. They were in striking distance.
What was Fremantle?
Fremantle were 13-17, so they were tons better, but they won.
I truly think that when you're 8-13 and you don't play football on the last kick or the last goal, right? But I truly think that with 8-13, it's one of those shots that you should have kicked early in the game.
Yes.
That changes the whole game.
Yeah.
Because that's a goal from that point onwards. It's not Fremantle get the ball. It's GWS get back to the centre and then they can play. Generally, a goal or two can change the whole tide of the game.
Yes.
Whereas if people look at, that last kick, and it's always goals after the siren to win a game. Oh, that last kick, had he only kicked a goal, we would have won. Yes, but what about the 5-10 opportunities before that?
Yeah.
Like a 2009 grand final, it could have been somebody kicking late, but I'm like, the Tom Hawkins behind, if that was a behind, okay, changes the whole dynamic of the game. The Stephen Milne bounce in 2010 had only gone our way. Yes, but if with this had been a goal and this had been a goal, or if we had there's so much more to it.
Yeah. It was just looking at the breakdown by quarters, 5 behinds in that third quarter compared to 3-5, which isn't tons better, but those are the types of opportunities. So that third quarter is sort of a moving thing.
Oh yeah.
There, so that could have easily been, because you look at the worm, and it moves firmly further into Fremantle category. But with just a few more goals, it could have even stabilised or moved in the other direction.
Even one goal stabilises it. But that's it. GWS go on the board again. Last time they won was round 10.
6.
We are round 10. So the last time, that statement is true. The last time they were on the board is round 10.
That's correct.
Round 6. And there's 5 teams. 5 teams still yet to be on. But
same as last week. Brisbane, Fremantle, Geelong, St Kilda, and the Western Bulldogs.
St Kilda just don't have scoring shots. That's the problem.
They don't score enough to be bad. If that makes sense.
That takes us to the Volcanzo for this week.
Volcanzo this week was I was actually thinking about doing this last week, and then I had some other ideas. I thought, all right, I'll bring it back this week. Now the article is coming at some point, I hope. This thought came to me during the showdown. Now there's a few personal things of mine that I'd really like to see going. We need a few more of these rule changes in sport. We need more awareness on the concussion CTE thing. But another one that just annoys me more than anything else is you sit down, you watch a football game and go, I'm looking at these two jumpers thinking, I reckon we can do better with distinguishing these two. And I know a lot of people go, the white shorts. I don't think they work very often. I think we need. I never know who to blame in this. Is it the AFL for not? Well, it really should be the AFL for not laying down the law, or is it the clubs for? Well, historically, it has been designing them very well, but they've got better. I think the clubs have realised, we can do some fun things with our away jumpers, glass jumpers. So because back in the day, Essendon would just had a bigger red sash. So that doesn't work. It doesn't work. So clubs have got a bit better, to be fair. I'm still never sure who to whinge at this situation. I'm leaning more towards the AFL, given it's your league, it's your rules. You can really, I think they own the intellectual property for all 18 clubs, so they can make them wear basically whatever they want anyway. Thank goodness they don't have that. They don't go to that lengths. So So that's a positive. I reckon we could just do so much better with the jumper clash. We have obviously better looking jumpers, but that's a whole club thing. But I just sit down and go, yeah, sure, yeah, Cullen Richmond, you've worn the same thing for hundreds of years, but we're not in 1925 anymore. It's 2025. We've got colour television. We've got a population that is struggling to see a lot more than it used to. I'm fully aware of that. I think we could just do so much better on the. And I love seeing them in the prison bars during that game, Port Adelaide. But I'm looking at Adelaide going, I don't think there's really any particular reason why you can't be in red or yellow or white or something else just to make this game look a little bit better. It's really more a presentation point of view and a sort of product thing more than anything else. It would just look nicer if it was much easier to distinguish between two teams. And I don't think there's a ton holding back the AFL other than, well, we're going to make some people angry because, Carlton Richmond won the same thing. Well, who cares? Who cares? We had, what was it? It was the Carlton-Melbourne semi-final from a few years ago where Carlton wore white. It was a great game. Nobody really noticed. You were able to easily distinguish. It came down to that last couple of minutes. It was a good game of football. So that's sort of the one for me is a very fine example of where you got two teams that historically played a lot of football against each other, played each other for many years, but we're able to distinguish them much nicer. Because if Melbourne was a much bigger team than if Melbourne was a Richmond or a Collingwood, they would be wearing the exact same thing and it would look awful. So I don't understand why the AFL doesn't come along and go, hey guys, design a jumper properly that would contrast against your own jumper. That's really the rule of thumb for this. And the second is, I think it's more. It used to be probably a club thing, but now it's more an AFL thing of actually come down hard enough to make the game a decent looking product. Is that fair, Woodsy?
I totally disagree with you. I'm sorry. I'm just you pick the game for the worst example. I'm more going on you on that. Port Adelaide and Adelaide was a great clash. I'm going here now. I'll show you this, right? I'm showing Lorenzo now.
They had,
so this is it. I'm just saying this is what I'm showing him is it's like a long shot. I won't put it up there, but it's a long shot
take too long.
behind the goal vision, right? You can pick out every member of
I'm too far away from the screen there to be fair.
Well, from the angle, like one's got a dark back, one's got white shorts. Port Adelaide have white on the front, white on the back, black shorts.
It's not the worst one by any stretch. But I was watching it going.
I'll put it closer for you.
Yes, sort of. But
like if you're in the stands, if you're in the stands or you're watching TV, you're able to actually tell. I get with other teams, I agree with, but I think the showdown you need to keep it as what it is. Port Adelaide in their home game, they will always have the prison bars as much as they want to have them.
Yep.
I just think every showdown that should be the case. A celebration of South Australian football.
It's a fraction too similar.
Well, you're saying for them to wear white. White would be way more similar because they've got white front. Like
they can wear red then in that case, or whatever colour they want to go with.
I'll go to another photo just to prove a point here. Like,
just because you can distinguish it. Just because you can distinguish between them all right doesn't mean...
No, I'm just saying from the front. Saying from the front, like...
Yeah, you can tell from there.
Yeah.
But then put Port Adelaide in white shorts. So this is the other thing that annoys me. Why do teams that
don't
have white as a proper colour?
Port Adelaide I would have when they're playing away would be... I like, when it's a Port Adelaide home game, that's perfect. Like, Adelaide away, that is a perfect thing.
With Port Adelaide white in the
away, I'd actually be going... I'd probably put them in white.
Now you're putting them in white.
Port Adelaide can be in white because if you see Port Adelaide have a white front.
Yeah.
So they're technically their front and then their back is white.
Yeah.
So it's...
I just want the rules to apply the same to everybody, and that's really the point.
Although I'm thinking about it now.
If you've got to do it one way,
I've got to think about it now, and I've got to actually see it when it happens. But I think Adelaide away with black shorts or navy shorts. Port Adelaide black and white. There's the difference because you got the red and yellow.
That would be better than what we have.
And then Port Adelaide have the white back again. So I think there's enough difference in the jumpers that they can both wear the jumpers, and Port Adelaide in white is all right. I'm not against they're going. I can actually see that. I'm just going to go and see what it looks like on footyjumpers.com.au or footyjumpers.com of Port Adelaide away, but with white shorts. I just want to see how that actually goes, as I now realise I probably won't see it, but like the away jumper, you'd almost say like, yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to them wearing the white jumper, but I think it's the black jumpers. There's difference in it. It's not like a Collingwood Carlton where both have black backs or dark backs, and they've got the differences that from a distance you can tell them apart.
I guess I reckon we could do a bit better though.
But that's it for the Volcanzo this week. We move on to who can and can win the flag.
That's correct.
Is there anybody that you're putting on? Namely Essendon.
Essendon. Can you do that for me? Because I haven't actually put this up on the second one yet. Yep, thank you. That'll do.
No explanation needed.
No explanation.
Why?
They lost by a lot.
As we move.
How many teams? 2, 3, 7. I'm down to 8.
I think you're down to the same 8 I am.
Yep.
As we look at mine, it is the same.
Are they the exact teams?
They are the exact same.
Gold Coast. Mind you, Gold Coast, we just quickly, like they've got one game still in hand. Had they played that game that had been not cancelled by the Cyclone, they're the sort of the provisional minor premiers at the moment. Because if you give them those 4 points, they're already ahead of Collingwood on percentage.
You get that at the end of the year. So we wait. Now, we move on to the heavyweight champion, and it is Fremantle. After defeating Geelong, the Giants.
Who defeated...
Who defeated Geelong, who defeated Collingwood, who defeated Brisbane.
So
we've got a bit of a stockpile of teams there.
We do. And yeah, it's been an interesting one this year because teams keep losing it after the last couple of weeks. They've lost after one game. And Fremantle and now they've got Port Adelaide. So who knows what will happen in that one? It literally could be anything. With Port Adelaide and Fremantle, that's Saturday night. It's out west.
It's going to be an interesting one.
Lean to,
but we move.
Well done, the Dockers. It was a good performance.
As we move from one discussion points of games from the previous weekend, we move to another with the big goals. Neither one of us were right this week. You went GWS.
I went down the GWS route.
You went the champs to retain by 24 plus, and they didn't. I went Brisbane and St Kilda and both lost.
We were talking about this last week,
was
thinking
before.
This was good. Yeah, this was before.
This was before anything happened. And then can't change it after the podcast has been released, and it's... we move on. Brisbane and St Kilda both lost.
Let's be honest. Brisbane, that was almost the almost inexplicable loss of the weekend. Maybe Essendon by magnitude, but if you're just looking at win-loss thing, you think, Brisbane, you lost a... Anyway...
As we look to the round 11.
Yes, because I am, even though you've been talking up the Bulldogs and throughout this whole episode, I think, I'm beginning to slowly agree with you, but I'm just for in future weeks, they're going to be real back the Dogs. But as for now, 18 plus,
I think the Dogs are going to win.
Smith,
Dogs will win. Dogs will win.
I hope it's a good game.
Actually, no. Bailey Smith will probably give it to his old team.
He will. I'm just hoping for
Geelong to win by less than 18.
Okay, fair enough.
But I've gone previous weeks. I've kept on this, but I've usually included St Kilda. I'm going against St Kilda now. Gold Coast, Collingwood and Adelaide to win by 120 plus points combined. So Collingwood play North Melbourne and Marvel Saturday night.
They do. There's a double header.
Adelaide play the Eagles at Adelaide Oval Sunday afternoon, and then St Kilda play Gold Coast at Sunday 4:40 or Euroke play them. It's going to be a very interesting one.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see, hopefully, I mean, not hopefully because Gold Coast are playing St Kilda, but it's going to be an interesting one.
an interesting choice there to go against St Kilda. There, hopefully the other two will do enough there where St Kilda, regardless of the result, you'll still get a...
Yeah, we've got no rate or hate this week. We will do that next week with the Indigenous Jumpers. We're just scrapped for time this week. And... no Lorenzo's history lesson. That also will take place next week. As we just look to the week ahead now, and we've got Thursday night, Geelong Western Bulldogs. So your big call will be done and dusted by the Thursday night.
I just want to get it done, over and done with.
Now, Dreamtime at the G is on a Friday night, Essendon Richmond. I actually like this idea, and I'll go into the reason after I've gone through the other games.
Feel free.
Carlton GWS, Hawthorn Brisbane, North Melbourne Collingwood, and Fremantle and Port Adelaide, or Yallop and Yardapuldi make up the Saturday, the Super Saturday of footy. And then on Sunday, it is Kuana, or the Crows, take on Walter Marayawa. I can never pronounce it, but it's the Crows versus the Eagles at the Adelaide Oval. Then Nam take on Sydney at the MCG at 3:20. And then Euroke take on Gold Coast, or the Saints and the Suns at 4:40 on a Sunday. Now, going back to Dreamtime of the G, I like the fact that they've moved it from a Saturday to a Friday night because it's on free to air.
Yep.
Good call.
Very good call. Very good call. It feels like it makes it a bit more of a it just makes it adds a bigger feel around the game having it on a Friday night as well compared to a Saturday, which would have been true previously. But
now,
making sure that it's on free to air.
I want
good.
to actually make another call. I just want to see what your thoughts are on this. So for next season, when they're doing the fixturing, if they're going to continue the Super Saturday for Fox only,
which they
content,
will until 2031.
So
barring something a change.
Do
of
you
heart.
then think that the Friday night game should be the blockbuster game?
Realistically, yes.
Or having
so
it spread over, like it could be on a Sunday or a Thursday night. It's like,
well, you've got to really be careful with, and it's obviously, I mean, it's impossible to tell in November of one year to be certain how good a team is. But so take back a few weeks. I feel like we could have definitely had the Collingwood-Geelong game that happened on that Saturday night.
I think that's the one I was thinking. That's the one
day.
I was thinking of having.
So I think
If
for the most part,
if you're
they've
going to
done
have it,
reasonably well.
so like if you have your one standout game of the round on free to air, or it just doesn't matter. Like this is where it's going to be debated around, I think, come fixturing time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting one. That's one to look out for. As that is the end of this episode, I thank you so much for joining me, and I thank you anybody for watching. We'll be back next week, and we'll be talking a lot of footy. See you then.